So in AOE4, the most important things, right? The first thing that comes up is these settings right here, bro. These are like the first things that allow you to macro efficiently, right? So you want to have your idle military, find and select units, and cycle through selected units to select only, select only. So the reason why you want to have this is because it allows you to fight without looking at your without going back to your production buildings or TC, right? So for example, if I had this to select and center, right? Select and center, select and center, right? Let's say I had this to select and center, right? So let's say I'm fighting, right? Let's say I'm fighting here. Let's say I'm fighting against this guy, right? And then I want to make more villages, right? If I want to make more villages, I do this. You see, I could lose a fight just because of this happening, right? This could be very bad for me. This could be very bad because I can't always. This is going on, right? It's very nauseating, and I can't make I won't. It will discourage me from making more units and making more production buildings, right? So, well, for me, what I usually like to do is obviously have this to select and select only, right? So this is very important, guys. Right. So let's say now you want to focus on it, right? So let's say you're fighting, right? You're fighting, blah blah blah, and you want to see where your stable is or whatever you want to use. So the most important settings you can actually have a button for this, right? Is you go to unit selection and you see here on focus on selected units, you can bind that to whatever button you want, right? So let's say I want to focus on it, right? For example, I have a specific button for relics, right? For monks, right? I have a specific button for monks, right? So let's say I make some monks. You see, like, you see how I can select monks without, see? Let's say I tell my monk, but I want to see what my monk is doing, right? So I can just use the focus, or I have a scout, which I have a predefined settings for it, and I want to see what it's doing, so I can just use that, right? Okay. After this, we go into production buildings, building selection, right? So usually when you see pros do things, right, it's you'll see like Beastie, you'll have these like control group, like C, like you'll have these control groups, right? So you know why they have this control group? So it allows them to make buildings without looking, right? So you see, I can make villages without looking, right? But instead of doing that, which you always have to control group, you can just have buildings predefined, right? For example, for me, if I go to building selection, right, I can have select all military buildings. This is usually F1. You guys can keep it F1. And then you guys can have right here, select all barracks, select all stables, and whatever you want. You guys can have it to F1, F2, F3, right, which allows you to select it and you can make it without looking and without control grouping, right? So if you see here, right, my TC, my TC, oh, my TC, I can make it, and I don't have a control group for it. Oh, let me just remove this from here. You see, I can make it without looking, and I don't have a control group for it. And if I want to look back, I can just double click. You see? So for you guys, you always want to use like predefined hotkeys. I don't know why before they don't do this, but yeah. And then another one for your TC, right? Another one for your TC is very important, is when you go to building selections, you're gonna do focus on capital town center, right? If you want to focus on it, you can double click it. Like it's like a predefined control group, right? So you double click it and it will focus on your town center, right? But if not, you usually want to have it to select all town centers, right? This is very important. This is very important. You usually want to have this to a certain hotkey, right? So what this allows you to do, right, especially if you're a player who plays two TC, right, 2 or 3 TC if you play absurd or anything, right? Let's say I have, give me a second. Let's say I have,
命令我们是时候出发了，兄弟们。
let's say I have,
这
maybe,
等于就是正在
let's
拂
say I have
晓
two
天地
TCs,
美
right?
丽。我们有酒了，村民，
If I have two
我
TCs,
们
right,
为您建造。
I want to be able to make my villages without having to click on one of my TC and then another of my TC. You understand? So in order for me to do that, I can just click it once, and you see how it's selecting both TCs instead of just having it to just on capital town center, right? So usually the default settings here will be select capital town center, right? If you see, it's usually this one, usually, but you want it to be select all town centers, right? Yeah. And then another thing is, you see, you want it to be select all town centers, right? Very important. And then another thing is control grouping. Control grouping is very important in this game. Your APM will be low. I beg you guys, your APM will be low if you guys don't use control grouping. It's literally like the best thing that will happen, like mechanically for you guys, if you guys just focus on working on your control grouping. If not, for example, I started playing this game like 3 months ago, right? And I've learned like a lot about this game. And like a big mistake I used to do is instead of using control grouping, I used to use, what is it? I used to use select all military on screen. So like select all melee infantry on screen, select all ranged on screen, all cavalry on screen. This was a big problem, right? Because when I used to do this, right, let's say I wanted to fight, right, it would group all of my units together. Like it would group all of my units together, right? Like all my cavalry, my horsemen would be all together. And if I'm not looking at it, let's say I'm like here, like on the edge. Let's say you see these units here that are on the side. Like I want to use them, but it's only gonna select these ones, right? Let's say I'm already fighting with cavalry, because cavalry is obviously faster, right? But I want more ranged units to come, but because my it's not on the screen, it's gonna be difficult, right? And it doesn't give you the same precision. So please don't use them. Use control grouping, right? And the most important setting for control grouping is if we go here, sorry, the most setting for control grouping is being able to remove control grouping, because you always make mistakes, right? Wham even says this in his video. This is what helped me like get really good at control grouping, is being able to remove your control grouping like really quickly. Because it helps you just add and remove like really quickly. So if you want to do this, like if you want to be really good at controlling grouping, you have to be good at your keybinds should be good at adding and removing control grouping really quick, right? So for me to remove my control grouping, it's this right here. This is a very important settings. You can have it to use something else, but you should always use this, right? You should always use this, right? And another thing is I have my adding. So Beastie usually doesn't use shift to add them to your control group. For me, I don't. I only use control, right? I use control. The reason why I do that is right here. So first of all, when I talk about removing control grouping, you see how I can just remove it? It just makes things easier, right? It just makes things easier, right? But another thing, which is like really annoying, right, is like if I was to use shift in order to add my units to my control group, I have to click, let's say I want to use to all of them, right? Let's say I make my military, like right here, right? And they're all bunched up into different units, right? And they're all bunched up into different units, right? But I want to control group my horsemen, right? I could either double click and then use control 1, right? Or I can just control and click on it once and it will select all of them on the same class, right? Instead of me having to click one by one or like look for it. The issue with double clicking is that it can be sometimes when you're in a fight and you want to control grouping, sometimes your units kind of move around a lot and you can double click the wrong unit, right? So that's why I like to use control and then click on it once, and then without me having to let go of control, I can just press 2, right? It's very convenient, right? So control, click on it once, and then 3, you see? So I just press like 3 buttons with my mouse, right? But if I use the shift, it would be control shift, and then you get what I'm saying, right? And then another thing for me is having multiple, being able to use being able to use these other control groups. For example, you'll usually see Beastie and these other players have 6, 7, and 8. It's really hard for me to use them, right? These buttons are really inaccessible. That's why they have them for like production buildings, right? So if you want to use them, for me, I changed my settings, right? So if I want to use my control group 6 and 7, for me it's C, B, and D, right? So the reason why I do this is so I can have multiple units like in different places, right? There are times where like I want to use my villages. Let's say I'm getting attacked, right? I want to use my villages, right? I'm getting attacked and I want to run away, and then I have to go back to fighting, right? I'm going back to fighting. I run away with my villagers, and then I want to send my villagers back to doing something. So then I can use these buttons, right? I can use these buttons. Sorry, I have multiple control groups. I could use these buttons. Oh, I don't even know. Yeah, I could use this control group to tell them, you guys can go back to what you guys were doing, right? Very convenient, right? And then if I have like 2 units in 2 different places, right? Like I have these units like here, right? Let's say I have these units here to defend, right? I have these units to defend my base, and then I have another units like on the other side, right? So this allows me like 5 buttons on the top of my keyboard, and on the bottom I have like another 3, which allows me to fight like 2 places at once, right? It's rarely used, but when it does happen, it allows you to keep your APM, right? It does allow you to keep your APM, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys want more videos, subscribe, like, and just say something in the comment section if you guys want some more content.